Well, hi guys. How are you? How's everyone? Wow, it's been a bit. It's been about a month, to be honest, and maybe that could be worse since I took like a 3 to 4 month break last year when my mental health went to shit. But you know what? We didn't have a bad May, so now we're gonna talk about it. Of course, the moment I sit down to film is when my puppy just needs to make herself known. She is a very needy girl and I love her, but she knows when I'm about to film things, so we'll see how this goes this time. So hi, I'm Bree Buonomo if you're new here, and hey, if you've been here before. Today I'm going to talk about the month of May and my wrap up. So this is where I talk about the books I read, the things I wrote, and some personal life tidbits. And I don't have a ton of updates, but I simultaneously did a ton of things in May. So I'm going to try to keep this brief and efficient as well as I can. So let's just jump into the books I read. So I'm just going to preface this by saying that in May, I have started a lot of books. I have 6 books that I started at least that I'm still working through now, and I'm not going to talk about them, but I felt like all I did in May was read. However, I only finished 4 books. It seems like I should have finished so much more. So the first thing I want to talk about is The Amperseen Reviewed by John Green. This is a collection of essays where John Green kind of talks about different things in life and in our planet and what it means to be Anthropocene, or like this human time period that we currently live in. He mixes it with like information and facts with his own opinions and just like the takeaways that he gets from things. And personally, I loved this. I honestly learned a lot more than I expected, and just kind of the conceptualization about how our current civilization and like our time period of humanity is like so fast in comparison to the rest of the world, and like how old the earth actually is compared to how old we actually are. It's kind of wild, and that blew my mind, and then that hooked me in because that was an early essay, and then from there and that explanation I was just very fascinated by learning a bunch of things. I also just like John Green as a person. I think he's funny, I think he's intelligent, and I like how he speaks. So if you don't personally like that, or you find him maybe pretentious or whatever word you want to use, this probably isn't going to be for you, but I would highly recommend it. I loved it. And then additionally, I listened to it on audio and he narrates it, and that was a lovely addition. Next, I read One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. So this is like a Romeo and Juliet retelling, which I didn't quite know going into it. I picked this book up because I was walking in Target and I saw this beautiful cover of this book on a shelf, and I said to myself, I want to buy it. And then I said to myself, we have a bunch of books that I already own. So I did the financially responsible thing and I requested it from my library and I listened to the audiobook that way using the Libby app. And that was great, and I'm glad I did it because as much as I liked it, I don't know if this is a book that I would revisit necessarily, but it is one that I enjoyed. And like I said, it's essentially a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but the 2 rival families in this story are 2 groups of witches. And you have a female-led family, a matriarch, where her husband has died, but she is left with 6 beautiful daughters. And then you have the other family who has a patriarch and 3 sons. And there is an ongoing kind of dispute between them, and their families hate each other, but they're also dependent on each other. And it's like this will they won't they relationship from actually not just 1 but 2 of the sisters, and the other with 2 of the boys from the other family. And that kind of threw me off. I was not expecting kind of a double love relationship type of star-crossed lovers, but it was in there. And honestly, this is definitely a book that is like vibes all the way through, but I felt the plot was intriguing. If you look too closely, I think I've definitely picked up on some potential plot holes, or at least things that could have been explained a little bit more, but it's already a pretty long book. So for what it was and like the vibes that I was looking for, I got that and I was happy for it. So if you like Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, if you like star-crossed lovers and rival witch families and vibes galore, I would recommend it. Next, I decided to continue in the Sookie Stackhouse series, and I read Dead in the Family, which is the 10th book in the series. And I am almost done with this series. It's taken me a few years to get through it, which I'm amazed that I am continuing, as I've started so many series and have yet to finish them. I have a video like early on in my channel, like in 2019, about book series I haven't finished, and I think I'm gonna be ashamed because I probably haven't finished half of those still, and then I've added to that. But we are continuing. And this one, you know, I'm trying not to get into too much spoilers, but it's based, you know, around this female named Sookie Stackhouse who is in a relationship with multiple people throughout the series. And this one, it's so spoilery if I really get into the plot itself, but this one you are dealing with another murder. So in each book there's always a murder. It is a murder mystery series. It's kind of like a cozy supernatural mystery series, because it's really just like kind of spicy times, murder, and I don't know. I really love it. But this one wasn't my fave. This is probably so far my least favorite book in the whole series. I just felt like I always wanted something more in it, and I was not really connected to the side characters as much as I was in the other books. Like, a lot of things have shifted since we got to number 10, and I just really wasn't feeling some of the connections. However, there were some moments where I laughed out loud, like legit. I thought the dialogue between Sookie and Pam was hilarious in this. And so many times they would like say things to each other and they would be like one-liners, and I would be like sitting there doing my hair, just cackling to myself. I was reading this while I was on vacation, and at one point I was getting ready and my husband was sitting on the bed waiting for me, and I started laughing and he just looked at me like, what are you doing? Because I had my headphones in and I'm like, this book is funny. So it had that going for it, and that would be the only reason why I don't hate it. But as far as the plot of this one goes, it just was lackluster. And then finally, the last book that I finished in the month of May was Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson. So this is a little novella. It was a very quick read, and this just follows the aftermath of Sorcerer of Thorns. Sorcerer of Thorns was one of my favorite books of all time. It is a YA fantasy romance, and it just had my heart from start to finish. I love the vibes. I love that there's like a magical library system with books that can turn into monsters if not taken care of, and like the books have their own personalities and they're entities of themselves. This has like some demons and sorcerers, and there's just a lot that I loved about the whole series, so about the whole book. So when there was a novella announced, I was kind of like a little bit nervous, but this is definitely a vibes. Like, if you liked A Court of Frost and Starlight, like if that's kind of the novella you like, then I think you're gonna really enjoy this one as well, because it's definitely just like a cozy, like furthering their relationship with like low stakes. Like there's stakes there, but it's very, very low. And it was a good time. Basically, you have the two main characters who are in the book, Nathaniel and Elizabeth, and they are stuck at Nathaniel's manor because the manor has like this kind of like malfunctioning ward and it won't let them leave. So they have to figure out how to get out of the house in order to have Nathaniel host this like big sorcerer ball that happens every year, but it's his turn to host. So, like I said, super cute. It was fun, and I'm happy I have it. It was nice just to revisit this world for a little bit. And that's all that I got to read. Like I said, I started quite a lot of books, but I have yet to finish all of them. I'm really close. There's a couple that I'm just really close to finishing, and if I could just like find the time to sit down and physically read it, I'd be there. A big issue that I had is that I was listening to a lot of audiobooks that were very long. And because I'm listening to them very long, I'm not really getting through as many audiobooks, and that is usually how I get through a lot of books during the month, is that I'm listening to like many in a row. This month, a good amount of the books that I read were physically being read, and the audiobook I chose, which was One for My Enemy, was kind of a bigger one. I think it was like 16 or 17 hours, and I normally have books that are like 8 hours long, and when they're sped up, they're even shorter. So yeah, didn't get through as many, but I am happy with what I'm reading, and that's that. So let's talk about some of the things that I wrote in the month. So this month I had grand plans of going on vacation and writing on the beach, or writing outside on the beach house. Like, I just want to do so much writing, and that didn't happen. I'll talk about my vacation more in my personal section coming up, but I did not get to write as much in any capacity in anywhere because I just felt like I was nonstop in May. So what did I do? First and foremost, I did spend a good part of the beginning of the month doing some critique feedback. I was reading a screenplay for somebody, and I had to finish that and give my notes in, and I was a little bit delayed on that as well, which sucked. But I really wanted to commit to that before I went on my larger vacation. So I spent like the first 2 weeks really trying to read through, gather my thoughts, like finalize my thoughts and send that in. And then I had a couple follow-up questions that I also submitted by the end of the month. So I feel really good. It was my first screenplay I ever critiqued, and it was a little bit daunting at first because I know that some of the things that I would want reading a novel are just absent when you're reading a screenplay. But I think I did pretty good for my first time, and I'm hoping that it was beneficial. The second thing that I poured a lot of time into is writing a new short story that I submitted. So I'm not going to talk about what the short story is here in this video. Maybe down the road I will, but I'm going to save it because I know that the submission that I completed is a privately viewed. So like my name is not attached to it, and by chance, if anybody from that magazine ended up watching my video, I wouldn't want them to then know who wrote what and potentially ruin my chances of having, you know, the magazine or swaying in any sort of way. So for that reason, I'm not going to talk to you about what my short story was, but I am really proud of it. It was a really cute story, but also had that like tone of doom around it, which I love to do. And I broke my own heart with it because, you know, the themes of the book were something that I really think about a lot of the time as a human being. So either way, I loved it and I'm really proud of it. I have read that they might get up to anywhere from like 2,500 entries, and I think there's at least 1,000. So it's very possible that I'm not going to get chosen, and that's okay, but I'm proud of myself for putting it out there. I mentioned this in my past video when I submitted my short story for the Stygian collection, and this year I wanted to submit more. As much as I love novel writing, that is a timelier process, and I can write short stories much quicker and get them out much easier than I can not novel. So between like writing things, I do want to keep writing short stories and trying to submit them, because at the end of the day, it builds my resume and it might make me more appealing to agents when I query my next book. Plus, I love writing short stories. I know for some people that's not their thing, but I absolutely love writing short stories. I would write short stories all day long. They're so fun to me. I love like the challenge of being contained within certain word counts, and I love like wanting more but feeling like happy with what you got. So yeah, I'll write short stories all the time. And then I mentioned my novel, which I am currently still working on, Project Mermaid, and I have not finished it. I do think I'll finish it in June, but unfortunately what I keep finding is happening is that the last couple of months of my life were a lot more than I expected. Like I really thought I would end school in December and have tons of free time, but that's just not what happened. And nothing's bad about that, but I just haven't been able to sit as much. Like I'll sit here and there and start writing things, but it's not like a consistent, like here I go, here's everything that's going. So I only wrote a little bit, and honestly, the last chapter I wrote in Mermaid, I went back at the end of the month and I don't like it at all. So I don't know if I'm gonna scrap it yet. I don't know if I'm just gonna like kind of put a to be continued and move on to finish the book. I don't know what I want to do yet, but I don't really like it. And that's another reason why I think I'm avoiding writing it, because I know I'm gonna have to sit for a while and like really figure out what I'm gonna do with that chapter. But yeah, otherwise, like that's really all I wrote, but it is something that I'm happy with. And the short story, like I said, I really do love it, and I'm hopeful that I got it out there in some capacity, and I'm taking a chance. So then we're going into some personal life tidbits, and I will have a little bit of footage to add in here of all my failed vlog attempts for the month. So in the month of May, like I said, I clearly did not film anything. I thought I was gonna have vlogs, and I thought I was gonna be able to include some like fun personal life things that I was doing, but it just didn't work for a couple different reasons. One, things were a lot more fast-paced than I anticipated them being, and I just didn't have time to capture things, or like I would forget to capture things. Everywhere I went, I forgot my tripod, which made things very hard to film because I would have to like prop things up or move things and my phone would fall, and it was a nightmare. So yeah, not having the tripod was bad. Also, the weather really wasn't cooperative. The main thing I wanted to film was I wanted to have like a lot of footage from a vacation where I went to the beach, and I wanted to like film clips of me like watching the sunrise in the morning, doing yoga on the beach, reading on the beach, writing, and I did not get to go out on the beach very often. It's very heartbreaking, and I'm like laughing through the pain because I had looked forward to this beach trip for a year, and it was terrible weather for the beach. It was overcast and cold. It was unseasonably cold weather, according to their new station. And we were also in like a wind weather advisory because the winds on the beach were so bad that it could be dangerous. so we really couldn't sit out there. And even when we tried a few times, I will put the video here, the wind was just terrible. So we would just get pelted in the face by sand. Yeah, it was just, it sucked in that capacity. I had a really nice massage down there. It honestly felt different. This was the first time that I went into a massage, and like I had slept on my neck wrong the night before, and she like helped that so much. Like I actually felt such a physical difference after that massage. So that was really worth it. I got to go in the hot tub at least. Like that was nice. We did a lot of food. Like food was so good down there. There's so many options, and lots of, like there was a really good coffee place that I went to. We went mini golfing at one point, and I suck at mini golfing, but I tied for first place. We did mini golf twice, and on the second like course of 18 holes, I tied for first. And I almost won if I didn't botch one of my shots in the end. But that was incredible, and that's like a glowing moment for me, because putting is terrible in my opinion. I used to not be good at anything, but now I got it. So we were happy. So yeah, it was a good trip. The majority of the time was me working on a 1,000-piece puzzle with my in-laws. So by the way too, the other part about filming and not having footage is that I went away with 19 people. There was 19 of us in this household. So trying to vlog and film was also not feasible when we couldn't, like, we were all in the house because of the weather. So that was another reason. I didn't want people, like, for privacy reasons, like being in my videos without, you know, their consent. So yeah, I didn't have any footage, but it was fun, and we had a lot to do, and we had a lot of people to do things with. So yeah, not a bad trip. Earlier in the month, I also saw Taylor Swift. We went to Philadelphia. So my friend lives in Philly. I went down and stayed with her during the weekend, and we went to go see Taylor. So it was a nice weekend. I actually went to my first EDM concert on Friday night with a group of friends. One friend's birthday, I met them in Philadelphia, and we had fun. I don't know if it's quite my thing. Like I really like the music and I like the vibe, but my friends like love to be in the center of things, and I don't like that actually. Like they were kind of actually saying, they're like, there's like this balcony for VIP, and they're like, who would want to be up there? And like that just doesn't look fun. And by the end of the night, I was like, oh, it's me. It's me. I want to be up there away from everybody. Like I want to just like feel the vibe, but not be in the vibe. Because peopling is just too much for me most time anymore. There was just a lot of bodies and a lot of things happening. And as much as I like the music, I could feel myself getting really frustrated and irritated with people like bumping into me. So like that's the kind of stuff that I'm not really interested in, and I don't like being like body smashed with people. So even though it was fun and it was cool to be in the vibe of it all, I don't know if I would do that again, like being in a packed room. If I could go elsewhere and escape, I'd probably do that. Maybe I should have sat at the bar, to be honest. I did the EDM concert, and then me and my friend hung out in Philadelphia. We went to walk through like a rose garden. We got more food because food is amazing. And we just really hung out. We listened to like all the Taylor Swift albums on vinyl. We made our bracelets for Taylor Swift because my friend actually had heard about the whole bracelet exchange thing. So we wanted to be in on it, and we made those, which were really fun. And of course, Sunday night, we went to the concert. It was a good time. I was very grateful that I got to go see it. And yeah, I'll put a couple clips up of some of the concert that I like that was a lot of what I did. Oh, clearly I dyed my hair purple. I have been wanting to dye my hair lavender for over a year now, and the closer that Taylor Swift got, and obviously she released Midnight. If you listen to Taylor Swift, one of her songs is Lavender Haze. It is one of my favorite songs, and I was like, well, I feel like if I'm going to see Taylor, I have to dye my hair for Lavender Haze. I wanted to do it anyway, so I did. And I love it. It's faded a little bit. If you've seen my pictures from the concert, it was a very vibrant purple initially, and after a few washes, it's definitely dulled. But I love it. It's so fun. It feels very me, and I'm happy. And then I also got a mani-pedi, which was nice because I haven't had my nails done in a very long time. They are kind of chipped, but you can see that they're like a minty green with some swirls. And I just felt nice to be pampered. It caused me a lot of anxiety, like putting up money up front for myself, because it's not something that I'd like to do, but I'm happy that I did it. And it was just a nice month. Like, even though it was a very busy month, like I said, everything that was happening was all good things. It just left me very, very little time to do anything with social media. So I really did go silent in like Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Like, I posted 2 videos for Taylor Swift on my TikTok, and then that was it. I just very much ghosted social media, and it's fine. I was on social media quite a lot, but I didn't post anything. I was just scrolling a lot. So yeah, that was my month. It was a month. It was a good month overall, but I do miss writing, and I'm excited to try to finish Mermaid up in the next month and hopefully write some short stories. If you missed my most recent poll on my community tab, I have put out a poll if you want to go check it out. Basically, I'm thinking about doing a series where I share how I edit, how that process looks for me, and how I also critique other people's work. So I'm actually going to be doing a series, I think, where I critique my own work from some flash fiction pieces I did back in college. So we're talking like 2011, 2012. They're not really good. Even looking back, and I was reading a few of them, they could have been better. However, the class itself was kind of a joke. It wasn't very well organized. So what I would like to do is take those pieces, critique it as if like I was critiquing something, and then work through how I would edit and change it to make it better today. So yeah, if you're interested in that, definitely go vote on that poll. In addition, by the time you're seeing this, there's been announcements for the Stygian collection, but it is in a slight delay. So if you have not pre-ordered your Stygian collection book yet, please do. The link is down below, and if you use my specific link, that will actually benefit me, and I get some profits from using my link. And otherwise, that's really it for me. Thank you guys for listening to me blabber for a while. So yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching, and if you want to let me know down below how your May went, that would be great. Let's start a conversation. What did you read for the month? What did you write? Or do you have anything fun that you did for May? And until next time, I'll see you then. Bye.